Okay, so this is the auditing presentation by Hall Kistler and Company. We're happy to welcome Andy Griffin, who's behind the camera. Maybe you should walk up so everybody can see you. He's a handsome guy. And we got Franklin Arner. Franklin, wave. Franklin is a partner at Hall Kistler. He's been there for a while. And Andy is a supervisor. They've both been there a while, long after I was there. I'm going to turn it over to them. Please, you guys, ask questions, answer their questions. Don't be shy. I threatened them they had to talk to you. Okay, let her rip, Franklin.
All righty. Well, I look forward to this every year. As Mr. Mitchell said, we've been doing this for about 10 years. And I figured it out. This is my 35th busy season.
Holy cow.
I know. And accountants, we don't really look at it by years. We refer to things as busy season. Because our busy season, for at least for Andy and I, ours starts from October 1, maybe September 15th to April 30th is really our busy season. And so, which for me is wonderful, because if you're going to work a lot of hours, you might as well work when it's cold, snowy, and miserable, because then we slow up in the summer, in the summer months, and it's beautiful and we go outside. So, in fact, you guys have exams next week?
Week after.
Week after? Okay. Well, you know what? While you guys are having exams, I'm going to be sitting underneath an umbrella with a little drink in my hand, a little umbrella, watching the water come in and the water go out. So I'll be thinking of you guys while you're taking the exam. You think of me as I'm at the beach.
I'll be thinking of you.
Okay, thanks.
I'm still at work.
See, Andy will still be working, so. As I said, I've been doing this for 35 years, and the biggest thing that accounting and auditing, hasn't changed a whole lot. Conceptually, it's still, you audit, you place an opinion on a financial statement. It hasn't changed. What has changed dramatically is the technology. When I started out, you had 4-count paper, you had 13-count paper, you had a blue pencil and a red pencil and a regular pencil and a calculator. And that's all you needed. My father was a CPA, and he started his own firm, and we started up. That's all you needed. You needed some desk, office furniture, nice typewriter, and that was it. And I remember we bought our first computer. And my dad, put it on the table, and he was reading the instructions, and it said, insert disk. I don't know if you guys remember floppy disk. Put the disk in, and it'd say press a button. My dad would look at the screen, he'd go, and wait for something to happen. Nothing happened. So it took us a long time. To, to get in that technology and to understand it. And so now, all we need, we used to carry files, we had audit bags, carrying all these files back and forth, and Mr. Mitchell remembers, boy, the more paper, the bigger the audit bag, boy, the more excited you were because I did this audit. Now, all you need is a laptop. Well, we have a laptop, and now we have extra monitor. We started out with just laptops. Our first portable computer was a compact. Had a screen about this big, but it looked like a suitcase. Weighed about 20-25 pounds. Yeah. And you'd have to take a printer with you, and you'd have to do all this. Well, now it's amazing. You take your laptop. We have portable monitors now that are about this thick. Carry it in your laptop bag, and you can set up, and you go out to your client and you perform the audit. Right? Andy has an example. See, that's all it is. Oh, there you go.
Ooh.
Ah. Oh, so that's the exciting part about it, because we used to have it at our office. We'd have a room, it was just full of files, client records. Now it's our conference room, because we don't have paper files. And so the other aspect with the technology is the developing of the programs, the audit programs, the selections, the helping you do, to do your planning. to determine your risk, and the programs, the technology that are out there has made it easier for us to, you still have to do the work, but it's helped to develop that those risks all through the computer. And that's what Andy's going to kind of show you, you know, how we go about, you know, performing an audit. And we're going to, the auditing, I tell the classes every year, auditing is a very hard class to teach. Because it's, you know, you have to understand the basic concepts and the risk and but it's hard to explain until you get into it, and you have an audit, you have a client in front of you, and you're trying to place an opinion on the statements, because things change. You have to be able to look at a situation. The biggest thing with auditing is look at something, and if it doesn't look right, doesn't smell right, you got it. Just pursue further and dig further to make sure you've satisfied yourself that the numbers are right. So that's what I like about auditing, because you know, I look at it and I look at something and say, okay, what's wrong? What's wrong with this problem? What doesn't look right? What doesn't smell right? Which makes me very good at my job. It doesn't always make my wife happy. Because she'll do something, she'll make something, or she's very creative, and I'll find the one thing that's wrong. So I learned keep your mouth shut. Okay. So what makes you good at your job doesn't always make your wife or spouse happy. So. From experience.
Well, critical comments don't do well in a marriage.
Yeah.
They work great for teachers, but
yeah.
not so great for marriage.
Yeah. So what is the objective of an audit?
To give an opinion on the financial statements?
That they are
Presented fairly?
in accordance with?
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. So when you look at a...
I just lost internet, so.
No. The whole deal's off if they don't have internet.
So when you look at a financial statement, okay, for a client, the auditor's responsibility is a sometimes two-page letter. Right here. This is the end result of the audit. So the auditor's opinion, and that's what the auditor is responsible for. The client is generally responsible for preparing the financial statements, for preparing the footnotes, and in a big picture world for publicly held companies where they're have a large auditing or accounting staff, yeah, that's true. Timken prepares their own statements. All the auditors do is this. Well, in the smaller client realm, which is what we generally operate in, we have to do help the client with the financial statements and the footnotes, and making sure that those numbers are right. So it's a little different, kind of if you're looking at going to work for a Timken as opposed to working for a small locally owned company. Okay, so Andy's going to kind of explain a little bit about, like I said, about the programs and how we go about.
I am have to log back in first.
Oh. So, all right, so I'll just babble a little bit. Okay. Makes it harder since I have a camera. Now I'm gonna have all my old jokes are gonna be on there, and
Yeah, you'll have to freshen them up.
I'll have to freshen them up. Man.
I just hope you're loud enough. I don't know where the microphone is. Testing. So I'll tell you where we are. We've been through, you know how an auditing course works. So they've been through all the general stuff. We've been through all the objectives and assertions, and we've been through the evidence, and we've been through the risks from AAR and CR and IR, and assessing the risks and determining how much control testing we're going to do and balancing it with how much substantive testing. And we've just finished going through sales and cash receipts and transaction testing and balance testing for receivables that goes with it. The only thing in the course we've not covered at this moment is auditing cash, which is the next chapter we're going to cover, and wrapping up the audit. So we haven't talked about a representation letter yet.
Okay.
They know all about engagement letters, risk assessments, all the standards they have to follow. So we've been through most everything.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
gives you a feel for where they
And
are.
part of it is to take a lot of the stuff that you learned, you know, from a textbook and show it how it really applies to real life situations. Because like I said, auditing is a hard class to teach. Boy, this might be a little bit of a challenge. The wonderful thing about the technology is wonderful, it's great, but if you don't have an internet connection, it kind of screws up your whole day. Because, I mean, that's how we, we have to have because all our programs are all out on the cloud. We don't have any programs on our hard drives. We basically have dummy laptops. You get internet connection. We go through this entity down in Atlanta, Georgia, and they house all our programs. So our security, we feel very comfortable in our security because they have a lot of protocols and things in place to prevent fraud. Because if I was a hacker, think about it. If you're a hacker, what would be the best place to hack?
Your own computer?
An accounting firm, okay? Because we have clients' tax records, we have their 1040s, we have their social security numbers, we have a lot of times their bank account information. And so if you're going to hack somebody, accountant's the place to hack. Now, don't go on and do that, but so, that's why we invest in a lot of money. We could maintain it ourselves, we could have our own server, we could do this, but we feel very strongly about this as a firm that we invest a lot of money into our technology, into using the cloud. Because if Andy's laptop gets stolen, okay, there's nothing on his laptop that's client related because it's all out of the cloud. Because if we would have some of our data stolen, a laptop with client data on it, then we'd have to there's a real process that we have to go through to notify our clients, say your data was compromised, it's been stolen, and so the client then has to go through and do a lot of work to make sure that they don't have identity theft take place. So,
It's gonna take a second.
Yeah. We're getting
Yeah,
there.
okay.
We're getting there. So that's why, that's a little bit of kind of how we protect our clients' data and our records and how we use the technology.
Anybody have any questions while we're waiting for the software to load? Anything you're dying to ask about the real world of auditing? What they all want to know is why would anybody choose to do this? Because it's the most boring thing they've ever seen in their life. They just don't want to say that out loud and hurt my feelings, but we all thought that when we took auditing in college, right?
Well, the funny thing is I mentioned my dad is a CPA, I'm a CPA, my brother's a CPA, and my sister married a CPA. We're an exciting family, let me tell you, get-togethers. Yeah. No, but we kind of pride ourselves on not being the traditional accountants, auditors. Okay, on TV, what do? They always portray accountants as being really geeky, right? Sitting in their desk.
Until the movie The Accountant came out.
Yeah, did you see that?
I was
one?
kidding. Are you kidding?
Oh,
I was
sorry.
there opening night. The movie The Accountant came out, and it was great. I took my family there, my wife and my youngest son were there. There wasn't a lot of people, but I was the only one laughing at the accounting jokes. My family was like so embarrassed. Like, God, I can't believe you're laughing. They were hilarious. Some of the accounting jokes were
We're
great.
a happy bunch.
Yeah. So I tell people, it's finally an accountant, movie about an accountant who carries a gun.
That's right.
It's a great movie. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a good story. In fact, Mr. Mitchell should give you extra credit if you watch the movie.
Don't say things like that. That was an unauthorized offer of bonus points.
I have watched the movie.
He's some bleeding bonus points.
He doesn't? Okay, all right. I have to give you a little chomp.
See, my web students never bug me for more points.
Oh, they
They
don't?
just do the work and don't complain.
All right, Andy, are you ready?
Was that you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I thought it was the camera.
Please turn off all cell phones.
It was.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we start with smart practices?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a program called Smart Practices that we use to do the audit planning. And it runs through questions. So usually we have what we call recurring clients, okay? So year to year, not much changes usually. But let's say we had a new client. A company comes to us and requires an audit. So we would go through, I just lost internet again.
Is this because of your Wi-Fi or?
It's back
For the.
for now. No, it's not on the Wi-Fi, it's on the card. So we would go through these questions for, let's say, a new client. So, was there a predecessor auditor? In other words, had they had an audit previously and we're just the new auditor, or is it completely new? Are they a new company? They never had an audit before? Are we gonna use other auditors? So if a company has divisions in multiple states or multiple countries or something like that, are we gonna use another auditor and kind of sub that work out, or are we gonna do it all ourselves? Because that makes a difference in what you're reporting on. And then, there's some items like inventories, where those are gonna require specialized disclosures. So we ask ahead of time, do you have investments in other companies? Do you have investments in securities? Do you have intangible assets? Do you have a defined benefit or defined contribution plan? Yeah. So this explain box talks about how we're going to include in the audit program certain steps based on, okay, they have a defined benefit plan, a retirement plan, they have a defined contribution plan, a 401k plan. So that'll add certain questions to our audit programs. And the audit programs are what are going to drive everything, all the audit work, and that results in the audit report.
The other thing you're going to find in a lot of their software is things like that, or help me with this. There's all kinds of built-in information. So it's not like everything you're learning in your textbook you have to commit to memory for the rest of your life. It's all out there. The more you use it, you know what it means. But when you're new, this stuff, we didn't have stuff like this when Franklin and I were young. We were looking in a book or asking your supervisor, what the heck, I don't remember this from school.
So the key the real key is you have to at least recognize that there's an issue or there's a situation out there that you have to be aware of and have that general knowledge, because with accounting and things change, especially taxes, but you have to just at least be knowledgeable that there's an issue out there, and you can always go back and find the answer. How many times have Andy and I've been going over something, I go, there's something about this, let's check out, boom, 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 boom.
Too many times.
Too many times. And so then you go back to do your research. But it's important to just be able to recognize, in the back of your mind that there's an issue. So again, with having this program the way it is, you don't, you can click on those buttons and it's there.
Actually, what we do a lot too is, because we have other clients obviously, there's times where Franklin might say, oh, we had that issue on XYZ company. Look up what we did for that. Or I think we did something similar on that one. So look up the financial things we did for that one and pull that wording or pull that work paper and see how we handled it. So it's kind of nice to have almost like a library of other clients you can refer to and somebody that remembers, oh yeah, we ran into that, 10
What
years
happens
ago
when you've been
on-
doing it for 35 years?
Yeah.
And Google.
In Google.
Yeah.
We didn't have Google either. We had no internet. You had to go to a library to research. You people are spoiled. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. They've heard
Utes
enough of me.
today.
Huh?
Who's Utes today?
Utes.
It's a Ute.
We are jolly people.
So the first form here is called an engagement and acceptance and continuance form. So this is kind of like the first thing after those original questions. This is the first thing that we would run through. So this is kind of saying, what do they want? Do they want an audit? Do they want, it could be a review or compilation. I don't know if you guys have talked about the different levels
Super
of.
briefly,
Okay.
back at the beginning.
Do they want us to prepare the statements as well as do the audit? Do they want us to do the tax returns? Is there other supplemental information that, see if it'll let me go down here. Is there other supplemental information that they want us to perform? Is it going to be a, is it going to be GAAP, or is it going to be another comprehensive basis of accounting? Is it going to be tax basis? What is the intended use of these statements? Most of the time, it's because of they have a bank loan or like a line of credit that the bank then requires them, hey, we'll give you a loan, but we need audited statements every year, or we need compiled statements every quarter, or a review, or something like that. There's times where some, especially like nonprofit organizations, they'll just have an audit just to have one, just for accountability. Churches, a lot of times, there's a couple churches that we do, just because they're accepting offerings, they decide, well, we want to have an audit. Okay.
This is a new problem.
Yeah, this is supposed to work.
Are we in the university's Wi-Fi,
No.
or
He's on his own card.
you get it?
Our Wi-Fi here is terrible.
Want like a mobile hotspot or something?
Yeah, just say.
Like I could give you one. Use mine.
Well,
No, that would burn your data.
I got unlimited data.
You what?
I got unlimited data.
You do?
I could try to do the school one, but we had
Our
problems with
Wi-Fi is awful, but we could try
It
that.
was the firewall before.
Yeah.
Is that the problem? Firewall for the regular?
I thought it was. Never tried it.
I'm just tearing all these wires. I'm gonna get in trouble. I may not be here next week.
Andy's doing it. Part of what, it's kind of like, you're going on a trip, okay, you're planning a vacation, okay, you need to kind of plan everything out, where you're going, what you're doing, what's the objective, what information you need, and to perform the audit, because you could have a situation where, you totally misunderstand what the client's objective is for the audit, and you end up missing things. So we try to gather as much information as we can at the beginning in order to plan the audit. So that's what a lot of this is, these questions initially are those set up. You will get it? So,
I don't know.
so that's what Andy is attempting to show you is that service, that program that we use to do it. When we started out, we used to have to do a lot of cutting and pasting. It was all in a book. You'd photocopy the programs and you'd go through it all by hand. Well, this way, the program, the technology will generate those programs for you based upon how you answered certain questions and how you assessed your risk.
So it's kind of like TurboTax or where that just asks you a bunch of questions before you even get into it.
Yes, yes. And then once based on those questions, how you answer those questions, it's going to tell you how to do your tax return. Of course, we like to think that you're better off hiring a professional to do your taxes.
Well, we always try to keep perspective on the auditor or on the tax professional. When we do these, when I teach tax, I try to always say, your client's gonna come to you and ask questions, what are you gonna tell them? Because you're the one that's being paid a lot of money to know this stuff. You
Right.
can't say, I don't know, TurboTax just did it that way.
Yeah, you have to
That's
understand.
no answer to a client paying $150 an hour.
Yeah. You know why first year, accounting professionals have have haunch shoulders and slanted foreheads. You ask them a question, they go. You tell them the answer, and they go.
Apparently I'm the only one that thinks you're funny.
I just heard it before.
I know.
Sorry, hey, I'm stalling, okay? To try to get this.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm sorry. I don't know, honestly.
It's the downfall of technology.
Yes.
That's exactly right. It really is, because, I mean, and that's what we, when we go out to clients, there you go. The biggest thing we have to find out first is, do you have internet connection? And what kind of connection do you have? Do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have hardwire? Obviously, if we get hardwired in the system, that's preferable. But if you can't do that, then you go to the Wi-Fi.
If their wireless is good, it's actually easier because they don't have cables to deal with and all that. If they have good wireless.
If they have good wireless or Wi-Fi.
Or if they have a wireless card that works.
Okay, are you into the universities or
No, well, I'm unwired.
why? Oh, you're wired. Oh, good.
Yeah. Last time we
I'm
tried
wired
that,
more
it
ways
didn't
than one.
work, but it worked this time.
Okay.
It
Well,
let
good.
it through. Or maybe it was because we tried it on our own computer, it wouldn't work, but I don't know.
that's what it was.
Anyway.
That's what it was. Okay, so, I don't remember where I was, but
Showing them
we're saying what they want from us, basically.
Mhm.
So, then we go into some questions as far as, do we want to be associated with them? Do we want to do this audit? Is their framework what we would call unacceptable? Do they have internal controls? Are they have a bad reputation in the community or something like that?
Because you don't always want to accept a client. Okay, you can always turn it down. We've had situations where we've turned down doing an audit because of things that Andy has mentioned, reputation, not having good controls. Part of auditing too is looking at something and going, like I said, it's just not right. You should be able to do that before you take on an engagement, because it's not always worth the money. Your reputation in accounting, your reputation is important. If you gain a reputation as being a little aggressive, a little shaky, or taking on risky clients, that's going to hurt you in the long run. So it's important to keep your reputation as an accountant auditor.
Do you guys see I don't want to interrupt, but I am.
Please do.
Do you see down the left side where it says identify risks? Engagement risks, understanding the client engagement team, who's going to be doing it, the fraud risks. I don't know what 4.1 is.
Understanding the internal control.
Understanding the design and the implementation of internal control. These are all the things we've been talking about all semester. So this is what I've been trying to describe to you, and couldn't wait for you to see that this software walks you through and asks you a million questions. All these things we've been doing for chapters and chapters about assessing risk, making decisions. This is how you do it in real life. It's really so much nicer than what we ever used to do in the old days. This is much better. So go ahead.
Well, another thing we would look at too is, is management willing to accept responsibility for the financial statements? So we're going to audit it, but are they willing to ultimately sign off and say, yeah, we accept your report? Are they going to give us access to all their people, all their records, any data we need? Because it's awfully suspicious if, well, we don't want you to talk to them because, or I can give you some of it, I don't have a bank rec to give you. Well, that's kind of a red flag. Not, we didn't get it done yet, we just don't want to give it to you, Most of the time we didn't get it done yet. And then on our end, do we have the necessary competence to do the job? So if it's an industry that we're not real familiar with, we might say, I don't know if we can do this. If we don't have the people necessary to do it, if it's a huge job, let's say if Walmart walked into our office tomorrow and said, hey, we need an audit, can you guys do it? We'd probably try, but we wouldn't be able to do that. That's just too big of an audit. I mean, let alone Timken or something like that. If they walked in tomorrow and said, hey, we need an audit, we could probably say, well, we'd love to do it, but we can't, we don't have the people to do that.
A great example is oil and gas. Our firm does a lot of oil and gas audits, oil and gas clients. Well, oil and gas industry, you have to really understand it, because there's a lot of things in there that you just don't really see. You know, AROs, oil and gas properties, accretion, depletion, and you know, Andy and another partner in our firm are the two people that really head that up, and they're very knowledgeable about doing an oil and gas. So if an oil and gas audit comes to us, then we're going to say, hey, Andy, Keith, we have the expertise and we have that knowledge, so we feel comfortable taking on that engagement. We also do a lot of manufacturing, so manufacturing is right up our niche. Now, if we get a hospital, for example, comes and wants us to do an audit in the healthcare profession, we'd have to say, we don't have that experience, we don't have that knowledge, so we wouldn't be able to do that. So that's where it kind of comes into, do we have the ability to do an audit? Do we feel comfortable? Do we feel that we have the skill set to do that? So that's why that question is really important.
You still do a lot of not-for-profit or not?
We do nonprofit, mostly during the summer months, and usually nonprofit audits are nonprofit on our end too.
Yeah.
So,
Public service.
public service, yeah.
So another big thing that we always talk about is independence. Are we independent of this potential client? Do we have like a family member of ours that like is in management? I can't really do an audit if my spouse or my parents manage a company. People are not going to think I'm independent. Really, I probably can't be independent. Or are we invested in a company? You can't audit a company you're also investing in. Or there could be other reasons why you wouldn't be independent. And sometimes it is appearance rather than fact. You probably are independent, but you realize, well, people are going to have an issue with this. I may not appear independent, so that you may have to not accept it at that point. Most of the time we already know if we're independent or not. We're not even going to bid on a job where, Franklin's wife is CFO of the company. Well, we're probably going to do that. Somebody else will have to do it. Does it appear that sufficient audit evidence on which to base the audit opinion cannot be obtained? So that's kind of ultimately are we comfortable issuing that report that we showed earlier? Are we comfortable signing off on that? And if we're not, then we're not going to accept the engagement. As Franklin said, it's really not worth it to do it. And then, kind of along those same lines, management's integrity. Do we think that they're dishonest? Do we think that they're shady? Do we think that they're hiding something from us? Or they're hiding something from the bank or something like that?
Show them a little bit just the program how itself. So it's like, are there concerns? You got yes or no. So you click on here, and you go over here, and you can write in your answer. So you type it out and you say, yes, and then you give an explanation. So then, it looks really tiny and small, but you got plenty of room to write a paragraph. And then when the programs are all generated, that narrative will come out underneath it. And all these things like here, factors to consider on the end product, you don't see it. This is just kind of for your information to say, hey, here's some things to consider. This stuff here, here's things to consider about it. And it helps you, rather than sitting back and going, now what did Mr. Mitchell say about this? Here it is. It's
Wish I
there.
hadn't have burned my audit book.
Yeah.
Mine's a rental.
Definitely don't burn it.
Are we aware of any fraud? Kind of the same thing I talked about before. Are we aware of any fraud? Are we aware of an allegation of fraud? An employee comes and says, I think that the president of the company is stealing money from the company or something like that.
Hold on a second. Gotta say this. I'm sorry. Fraud. Okay. What are the two types of fraud?
They don't know because I haven't graded their fraud reports to tell them if they're right.
So you guys just talked about that.
You know that they've already been tested on it. They know the two kinds of fraud. Come on. Tori, tell them the two kinds of fraud. Yeah, fraudulent
Misappropriation.
and misappropriation.
Yes. Yeah, so fraudulent financial reporting. Why would a company want to do fraudulent financial reporting?
To appear good to like investors and stuff
Yes,
like that.
exactly. To keep their bank debt. You know, if they don't meet certain covenants, certain ratios, then the bank could legally call their loan. Yeah, that's not good. Plus, sometimes, you know, find out their bonus structure. How do they get paid? What's their, you know, how does the CFO or the president get their bonuses? Well, you know, if it's based on a certain ratios and things like that, then they could be misreporting their numbers so that they can get their bonuses. And then you have the, you know, taking of funds. Usually that's done at, you know, like a bookkeeper or certain level that has access to the resources, to the funds to you know, to steal that. And it's kind of funny, as an auditor, you think, wow, I'd be so excited to catch somebody, you know, and to find fraud. Well, when you do, you find out the rest of the story, and it's sad. You know, you realize that this person's going to lose their job, possibly going to go to jail. They did it because they had a sick husband and they ran out of insurance and they had no money. They had a child that was in rehab, and all these things that are personal things that happened, and you understand a little bit why they did it. Not that it's right, why they did it. And so I remember the first time I came across it, the whole weekend, I was just read my whole weekend because I just felt bad. What they did was wrong, but you just feel bad. So it's not always what it's cracked up to be.
So a lot of these questions kind of come back to the same thing, so with everyone, but more or less, do we want to do this or not? Is ultimately the result of this checklist. Should we do it? Should we not do it?